spent years tirelessly trying to stop coal companies in this area from damaging our water catchment areas. And her name's Julie Sheppard. You might know her from Rivers SOS Alliance. And please give her a round of applause.
Thanks, everyone. We really appreciate you coming out, and I'll hope you all got an umbrella in case it does rain. But anyway, to some extent, this is a symbolic thing that we're doing here today. We're symbolically drawing water from the reservoir down below and taking it all the way to Parliament House. And we're trying to send a message to this current government and any governments that what is going on in our water catchments, especially in Sydney's drinking water catchments, special areas, is totally and utterly unacceptable. Why do I speak about this with such authority? Well, I've seen it. For the last 10 years, I have been out in the catchment seeing the damage that these mines are causing on a daily basis. The mines are ripping the coal out as fast as they possibly can, 365 days a year, 24/7. They never stop, and it's all undermining our catchment and affecting the integrity of that catchment for water supply. When I drove over here, I live further west over near Camden. It wasn't raining this morning, and I hit the rain as I came up along the Upper Road. It always rains here when it doesn't rain further west. This is the area of high and reliable rainfall. This is where our forefathers, with wonderful wisdom and foresight, set aside these areas specifically for water supply. And they built, between the wars, the dams of the Upper Nepean scheme, the Cataract, Cordo, Avon and Nepean dams, and also the Warrenora Dam. Now, if you come here today from the Illawarra or from the Macarthur region where I live, this is where your water comes from. We do not drink the water from Warragamba Dam. This is a little known fact. Even our local member, Jai Rao, didn't know that. He got up in Parliament and talked about how the CSG exploration in Warragamba catchment was going to affect the water that his family drank. And I had to inform him when I next saw him that wasn't the case. And it's been a continual job to inform politicians. Kay Osborne, who's here today, was telling me just yesterday that she was talking to a politician in the Illawarra who didn't know or claimed not to even know that they were undermining the catchments. Full stop. You know, it's just, the thing is, our catchments are out of sight, out of mind. You can't walk in there. You can't go down there beyond these public areas or anywhere in the special areas, which are the inner sanctums of the catchments, without perhaps incurring up to $44,000 fine. But the mining companies, and there's 3 big multinational mining companies, Peabody Energy from America, the biggest mining company in the world, Wollongong Coal, now called Wollongong Coal, but used to be called Gujarat, NRE. It's a wholly owned Indian company. They take the coal out of this Cataract catchment and they ship it off to India without even bothering to wash it, that is to separate the impurities. They take the whole lot, it all goes to India. And I guess we might get it back in terms of steel that they make in India, because we don't make much steel in Australia anymore. And then of course BHP, they're undermining the catchments of the Avon and the Cordo dams. If you come from Wollongong, your sole water supply is from the Avon Dam. Up in Macarthur, our sole water supply is a combination of waters from those 4 dams, the Cataract, Cordo, Avon and Nepean. If you come from south of the Georges River in the Sutherland Shire, all the way down to Helensburgh, your sole water supply is from the Warrenora Dam. All of these areas are being trashed as we speak. Now, a lot of people say, oh, we've always had mining in the catchments. What are you going on about? Especially people from Wollongong who come from old mining families. I know that. In fact, the mine that is impacting on the Cataract catchment now is the oldest mine in the state. But the old forms of mining were nothing like the modern forms of mining. They weren't nearly as intensive and therefore as damaging on the surface features, which are the rivers and the swamps that feed these dams. The current forms of mining are incredibly intensive. They take out massive panels of coal under the ground, and all of that section that's taken out then just collapses. There are no pit props anymore. Pit props don't exist. In the old days, they propped everything up and you had all these chasms that were left. They didn't collapse. They certainly didn't collapse in a short term, and they weren't as deep as the ones that they're mining now, as high. So all of the damage that's happening now is due to modern, intensive, longwall mining, and it's only getting more intensive as they try to rip out more coal and make more money on a daily basis before the world maybe finally says, let's stop mining coal. And all this coal, unfortunately, is not for power generation, it's for steel. And steel, unfortunately, is an industry where they still think they need coal to fire the blast furnaces. They haven't actually perfected what seems to be perhaps an economic way to do it. Well, that's what they're saying. They haven't been forced to. It's too cheap to use coal. It's like everything. If they get away with doing it for as long as they can the cheap way, they'll do it without bothering about looking at alternatives. We see this all the time. Anyway, it's an absolute no-brainer. Why would you keep doing this? Anyone that sees the damage like I see it, because I belong to a committee called a Community Consultative Committee. This ticks the box where they have to consult the public, these miners. And you go on these committees, and one of the perks, I suppose it's a dubious privilege that you get, is that you go out and you see the damage. And I see this damage day in, day out when I go and walk these catchments with these companies, and we also go out and walk the catchments with the Sydney Catchment Authority, because I don't believe what the companies show me. I have great doubt that they show us all the damage, and I know they don't because we've found other damage that they haven't reported by going out on independent inspections. When you see that damage, when you see the dried up and cracked riverbeds, the dried and cracked swamps, desiccated swamps, the cliff falls, the massive cliff falls of massive house-sized boulders have gone tumbling down from the cliffs. When you see the gas venting in waters that are still there but now polluted, and the gas pouring through from the busted up rubble underground. All of this is just absolutely shocking. It's dramatic to the point where when I first saw it and first saw the damage on a scale that I couldn't just say I couldn't do anything about, that was Waratah River in 2006. It's just, if you don't see it, you don't believe it. And I've taken politicians out there like Jyrell, my local member, and I've convinced him, I think, that this is something that shouldn't be happening. Unfortunately, he's not here today, which I'm going to be castigating him about when I see him next. But the thing is, no government can let this keep happening. Labor and Liberal governments have been guilty of it in the past of allowing it to happen. It's a no-brainer. We want to send a message by our walk this week to all governments, all politicians of all persuasions, candidates or sitting members, that this is not acceptable in the Sydney drinking water catchments in the 21st century. Thank you.